Wall Street has a message for Hillary Clinton. Keep Elizabeth Warren off the ticket or else. Now, Politico reports that they interviewed dozens of major Democratic donors in the financial service industry. And they said, well, what they had said is actually some very interesting things about not only how the system works, but how much control these donors have over the Democratic Party and who they choose. Now, first of all, in part of these interviews, they said that they saw that little chance that Clinton would pick Warren as her vice presidential nominee. I know that's been going on. We've been hearing a lot of talk about that. Oh, maybe we can get some of the Sanders people, and maybe we can excite some of the progressives who look at Hillary Clinton and are like, well, shit, I'd rather vote for a turd. But then again, that would also mean voting for Donald Trump, and that's not exactly palatable either. So they're pretty much stuck. Well, so the Clinton campaign has been floating this Veep rumor for Elizabeth Warren for a while now, for at least a couple of weeks. And there are some of these donors in the financial service industry saying that, we don't think that's actually going to happen. So it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. Don't freak out. Don't panic, Wall Street. It's going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay. But nonetheless, the mere idea that Hillary Clinton could choose Elizabeth Warren as her VP to run with her has these donors crapping their pants. In fact, according to one top Democratic donor who has helped raise millions of dollars for Hillary Clinton, said, quote, if Clinton picked Warren, her whole base on Wall Street would leave her. Oh, thanks God. That would be awesome. They would literally just say, we have no qualms with you moving left. We understand all the things you've had to do because of Bernie Sanders. But if you're going there with Warren, we just can't trust you. You've killed it. You got to think about that statement for just a minute there. Just run it over your head a couple of times, right? The whole base would leave her. They would say, we have no qualms with you moving left. We understand that that's normal political fare, that you have to pander to the progressives in order to trick them into voting for you. And then, once you've gotten into office, you open your doors and say, hey, corporations, hey, banks, what can we do for you? We didn't mean that stuff that we said when we were saying that we were progressives. We're not actually progressives. No. We serve you guys because you sign our paychecks. That's essentially what's going on here. I love that. We understand what you had to do because of Bernie Sanders. What? Like pretend to be kind of progressive? Really? And look, this is one of the more revealing parts about politics. Look, where the donors understand that when Democrats talk like progressives to get elected, but then as soon as they get into office, they do their bidding. They do the bidding of the large corporations and large banks. And this is essentially Democrats allied with the financial services industry saying that. Like, hey, we get it, but don't you dare choose a progressive, because then we're going to leave. And look, let's be honest, right? Elizabeth Warren, I know a lot of you guys are irritated with Warren for not backing Bernie Sanders. But as I've said before, I think that she's made a political calculation to ensure that she's in the best place to push for actual progressive policies. None of her policies have changed. Yeah, it is kind of like a knife in the heart, right? To see her endorse Hillary Clinton, like, oh God, no, Liz, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, siding with people who have been trying to derail the very policies that you stand for, seeing her side with those people, it's a kick in the nuts. It's a punch to the gut, man. And I don't know what other terms I can put it in. It's painful. And there's a lot of people that are pissed off. And I understand that anger, man. I feel that anger. I get it. But I think that it's politics. We don't have to like politics. But she is playing politics. And when it comes to the policies that Elizabeth Warren pushes for, well, that makes Wall Street crap their pants. And she hasn't exactly been shy about criticizing Wall Street. Now, she's been attacking Trump, and it's all campaign stuff. That's politics. But her positions haven't changed, as far as I know. Now, if her positions change as VP, then it's like, okay, Warren, you're done. You did sell out, and that's it. But right now, she has endorsed Hillary Clinton after the whole process was over, that it was pretty clear that it was rigged in Hillary Clinton's favor. Therefore, she's like, well, whatever. We're going to defeat Donald Trump. As I said, like it or not, those are the politics of the situation. Anyway, now the article continues. This is from the New York Times. Most big donors don't want Warren on the ticket because she is one of the most accomplished anti-Wall Street populists in the Democratic Party. But many also think her presence would drive a potential Clinton administration too far to the left, poison relations with the private sector from the start, and ultimately be damaging to the economy. Now, this is from Democratic insiders that are allied with the financial service industry. This is what Wall Street thinks. This is what their lobbyists think. That she would be damaging to the economy because she would push Clinton too far to the left. Laugh along with me on that one, guys. Because that is ridiculous. Hillary Clinton has hardly budged the... Yes, she's come to the left on... slightly to the left on some issues. But she's still that pro-fracking, pro-Wall Street, let's not regulate the banks kind of thing. Kind of politician. So don't get any illusions. How much would Elizabeth Warren push her to the left? Probably not much. But anyway, this is what they think. Now, before I go on, I want to ask a question here to all those who think that any sort of regulation would harm the economy, right? Which is what Elizabeth Warren has been pushing for, also breaking up the banks. Which regulation led to the financial collapse of 2008? Look, 2008 was pretty damaging to the economy, right? It brought it to its knees. When all the banks in their infinite wisdom decided that they wanted to gamble money that they didn't have in the subprime mortgage casino. And when they lost, they turned to you, the taxpayer. They said, oh, please, bail us out, taxpayer. We know we done fucked up good. Please give us that money. Help us out. Help a brother out. I mean, and look, politicians, help us out. You control the money, right? I mean, we helped you get elected. And don't worry. If you give us this money, we'll be good from now on. We promise. And look, as soon as they got the money, you saw, they said, haha, you guys are suckers. You thought that we were too big to fail before? No, just watch us get bigger. And that's exactly what's happened. And now they say, well, look, hey, we're doing great. We've recovered. We've even got bigger and more powerful. All thanks to you. And now, piss off, plebs. You've fulfilled your role. You've bailed us out. But now, we're back on top again. And we don't have to listen to you. We're going to continue to buy our politicians. We're going to continue to buy people like Hillary Clinton. And so she can serve us instead of the other way around. I remember when banks actually served people. When they gave out loans to small businesses instead of spent money on the casino. Betting against subprime mortgages and bullshit like that, and writing liar's loans and selling shitty deals to investors. Those days are gone. And under Hillary Clinton, it's obvious they're not coming back. Even if Hillary Clinton does pick Elizabeth Warren as VP, because the VP has no power. But nonetheless, the whole idea that she would pick Elizabeth Warren still has some crap in their pants. It's amazing. It really is amazing. Now, back to the banks. Now, these are the same guys that think that any regulation to maybe bring them back in line, maybe make sure they're not so big, and separate commercial banking from investment banking will destroy the economy. Well, I got one thing to say about that.
Give me a break.
Exactly. And look, as I said, Hillary Clinton serves these guys. But as you can see, Warren, she actually doesn't. Now the article continues, quote, A constant theme that emerged in the interviews is that executives in the financial industry believe the first 100 days of a Clinton administration could feature potential deal-making with Republicans, who are likely to maintain their majority in the House of Representatives. So, already, they see Warren as a problem with making deals with Republicans. Maybe it's because those deals would kind of screw us, right? So what would one of these deals look like, for example? Well, they give a good example. Quote, the dream deal for Wall Street would be a combination of targeted infrastructure spending that appeals mostly to Democrats and corporate and international tax reform that could bring Republicans along. So, what does that mean? A little bit of infrastructure spending, but don't worry, corporations. We're going to cut your taxes even more. And we're going to make it easier to bring your money from overseas. Tax reform. Tax reform just means tax cuts for the rich. Now, wait a minute. They said increased infrastructure spending. Well, what's going to happen? One of two things. That infrastructure spending won't happen. Okay, so one of three things. Either it won't happen, or they'll do it, but continue to borrow money for it, right? And allow us to go deeper into debt as a country. Or raise taxes on you, the middle class. Of course. Targeting the middle class, which likely won't happen, at least when it comes to an election year. They're not going to campaign on it. So most likely we're going to end up with more national debt. In which later Republicans can say, oh, we've got such a high national debt. Let's cut entitlements. Well, you know that's going to happen. Come on. But anyway, they add, the fear is that Warren would make such a deal more difficult. Now, look, any politician, in my opinion, that gives a shit about the middle class wouldn't make that deal. Why? Because it's a shitty deal. But as one moderate Democrat who has close ties to the banking industry says, Clinton is going to face a divided government unless there's a total tsunami. What you want in a vice president is someone who can negotiate for you on the Hill. Someone like Joe Biden. And that is not a Warren strength. Well, let me tell you, we could have had a tsunami, and its name was Bernie Sanders. But anyway, to show you how much these Democrats actually fear Elizabeth Warren, Politico notes that, quote, all the donors and senior Democrats interviewed for this story demanded that their names not be used, both because they were not authorized to speak about the Clinton campaign's internal deliberations, and because they feared Warren's wrath. Quote, there is no upside to my talking to you on the record, one big donor said. Either I piss off the Clinton campaign or I piss off Warren. Or both. And I guess you don't want to do either. And look, still several donors said that they did not really fear Warren going on the ticket because they do not believe Clinton has a strong relationship with the senator and would not trust Warren to be a loyal number two, either on the campaign or in the White House. And as I said, this is where I'm at. I actually don't think Clinton will pick Warren. That's my opinion, but really I'm more focused on what the insiders inside the Democratic Party and close to the banks and lobbyists are saying. So, let's hear it from them. Quote, the manager, who was unnamed, said, first of all, they don't particularly like each other, said one prominent hedge fund manager who's raised millions for Hillary and Bill Clinton, but added, the absolute predicate for a vice presidential nominee is that they have to understand that they are number two, both during the campaign and once you take office. And I just don't think Elizabeth Warren is that type of person. Basically, they looked at her record. Remember, she's a junior senator who immediately after getting into office started burning it down. She didn't stay quiet like, I don't know, some senators like Al Franken, who said pretty much nothing. I haven't heard a peep from this guy since he got elected. Where she's been going on barn-burning speeches and asking people if they've had their eyes sewn shut. Not exactly etiquette, proper etiquette in their circles for a junior senator. No. You're supposed to shut your mouth. Look at Al Franken over there. That's what you're supposed to do. Guy hasn't said a word in months. Years. But no, she didn't do that. Why? Because she didn't care to. She didn't care to shut up. She actually had issues that she was concerned about. So, Wall Street has taken a look at that, and they don't like that. So they're saying, oh, well, of course she wouldn't shut up and play ball if she was a vice presidential nominee. Are you kidding? And that's one of the things that I think endeared a lot of us progressives to Elizabeth Warren. That is until she, I think, pissed a lot of us off by endorsing Hillary Clinton. But anyway, that aside. Because as far as policies go, she's actually still more in line than Bernie Sanders, than Hillary Clinton. And that's what, as I said, pissed us off when she didn't endorse Sanders when it would have mattered instead played politics. But, as I said, she played politics because there's some sort of long game going on. That she can continue to push those policies. Now, we'll see. I could be wrong. She could be a sellout. But right now, I'm not quite willing to write her off completely. And I hope some of you might take a look at this and be like, well, she does tend to make Wall Street pretty nervous. That should give us a couple of points. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. Now, back on Wall Street. And this is according to Charles Geist, who's a Wall Street historian at Manhattan College. He said, quote, "It's very clear that Wall Street guys don't like her because she's been a lot more effective than most in communicating an anti-Wall Street message that has been part of the Democratic Party for 80 years, since the 1930s. It's not so much that Wall Street doesn't like her personally. Most of them don't even know her. But they don't like anyone that espouses that particular ideology. Basically, anyone who thinks that banks shouldn't be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, Wall Street hates. We don't like people with that ideology that thinks we should be regulated at all. No wonder they love Hillary Rodham Clinton. In fact, she's going to look to the banks to raise her reportedly $1.5 billion that she wants to raise to run against Trump. And Wall Street has already been a huge source of funding for her over the years and probably will continue to be. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, Clinton and outside groups supporting her have raised $289 million so far in the 2016 cycle. And the securities and investment industry is easily Clinton's top source of cash, donating over $28 million so far. Damn. That's a lot of money. And now she wants to get more. But of course, if she chooses Elizabeth Warren, they're going to turn off the spigot. That's, again, why I don't think that it's actually going to happen. But as I said, this is less about Warren and Clinton and more of how much influence these banks have on what the Democratic Party actually does and who they choose. They're essentially holding that hostage, like the money hostage. Hey, if you choose Warren, if you choose a progressive, well, we're not going to fund you. We're going to go fund the Republicans, because fuck you. We don't like your ideology. Now, according to Sheila Krumholtz, executive director of the Center for Responsive Politics, she said, quote, "Things are so volatile now with all the outside groups that all it can take is pissing off one billionaire on Wall Street to make it difficult. And you don't run a national campaign, and you don't run national campaigns for as many years as Clinton has without some serious support from Wall Street. They are just too much of a heavy hitter." Once again, that kind of makes the case that Warren will not be chosen. And also, it makes a case of why we need to get money out of politics. And look, Bernie Sanders has shown us that you don't need Wall Street money to mount a successful campaign. He took on the establishment, he took on the press, he took on the Clinton machine, the most well-known politician in our age. He ran and went from 3% in the polls to coming damn near close to winning a primary, all without taking a dime from the banks or the special interests. It can be done. Hillary Clinton could do it too. She could surprise us and say, okay, Look, I'm going to pick Warren even though I know I'm going to piss off all of my donors. I don't care. I don't want your dirty Wall Street money anymore. I am a progressive. I am a liberal. I believe in what I'm saying. And so here's my pick. We're going to go in a more progressive direction. Now, of course, that would never happen in a million years. But hey, we could hope, right? But it's not going to happen. And look, many in the establishment don't think that Hillary Clinton even needs to reach out to progressives by trying to tap Warren. This is according to a senior executive at a Wall Street bank who was close to Hillary Clinton. He says, quote, "We are going to win this. Trump shouldn't be president, and he isn't going to be president. Picking Warren would indicate weakness and panic for no reason and make them look like they are running scared of Trump. There will be plenty of time to galvanize the left and get them to come out, and Warren would be a nightmare to try and manage." So basically, let me translate that for a second. We don't need to reach out to progressives. We've essentially got your balls in a vice. We're the status quo, and Donald Trump is a gun to your head. What are you going to choose? And all the establishment needed to do to give us these choices was to put their thumb on the scale by getting rid of exit polls, colluding with the media, closing polling places to depress turnout, having the media collude with the DNC to call the primary without even finishing the vote count in California, and on, the voter suppression, all the supposed fraud that we can't necessarily prove without a shadow of a doubt, but it is there, on and on. And in the end, the establishment brought us this wonderful choice, Hillary or Trump, but on one condition. If you're going to have Hillary, well, no progressives allowed. You're welcome. Besides, we've got big plans for you, and we don't want Warren mucking it up. No progressives. We don't want any progressives in this at all. You think they're going to actually give something in the platform committee to Bernie Sanders? You think they're actually going to adopt these policies that Bernie Sanders is bringing to the convention? No, of course not. It's a piece of fucking paper. How many politicians, how many presidential candidates actually ever follow that? Not very many. It's completely optional. And they're not going to choose that option. But anyway, a top financial services lobbyist in Washington said this: "There's going to be a lot to deal with in the first 100 days, and I'm not sure going left and picking Warren would be particularly helpful. But don't worry, our buddies in the establishment, well, they've already got someone in mind." This Democrat, according to the New York Times article, along with several Wall Street donors, mentioned Tim Kaine as the ideal vice presidential pick. The Virginia Democrat comes from a key swing state, is fluent in Spanish, sits on the Armed Services Committee, and is generally palatable to both progressives and more business-friendly Democrats. According to this moderate Washington Democrat with close ties to the banking industry, basically corporatist Dem, quote, "He checks every box. You could see him step up as president. He is credible with the base of the party, and he's also comfortable with spending time with the rich people you need to raise money from." So this is their pick. I think this is going to be their pick. He's got to be up in the short list. I mean, he's quote unquote credible with the base, but he knows how to suck up to rich people too. Now look, I don't know much about Tim Kaine, but the fact that he's got the corporatist Democrat seal of approval already doesn't really do that much to endear me to him. And that's actually why I think he's on the list, a little bit higher on the list than Elizabeth Warren, realistically. And look, I think that floating the Warren VP idea is probably Hillary Clinton, her campaign's attempt to gauge whether or not she could peel off some of the Sanders supporters. But I'll tell you, I think a lot of you know, and a lot of you watching, she's not going to get you, no matter what she does. The Bernie or Bust crowd, not going to get anybody. In fact, I think she'd be more successful at getting the Jeb Bush donors that she's been trying to court than getting you guys. But more importantly, to whether or not she does run with Warren or picks Warren, is this reaction. This reaction just shot across the bow. Basically, they're saying that you can pretend to be as progressive as you want, but if you try to choose an actual progressive with progressive policies, well, we're going to take our biggest resource away from you. And that's the money. It all comes down to the money. And such is the power of the moneyed interests that they have such pull over the Democratic Party and who they pick. And this is why I think one of the most important goals of the progressive revolution is to elect real progressives that don't take corporate money and who will work tirelessly to get the existing money out of politics for good.